Hey, everybody, this is Locked On Sports Minnesota, and this is the Friday Roundtable. I'm Ron Johnson. As you see, we got Luke Inman, we got Sam Ekstrom, and we got a special guest today. Reggie Wilson is gone on location somewhere, so we got the next best thing, if not the best thing. Julia Daniels, you guys know her from Kare 11. She was on the Ron Johnson show. She has great takes about baseball. But today, I'm interested in what she wants to talk about. But this is the Roundtable. Again, people, we are going to talk about football. Why? Because it's football season. Yes, we know baseball is going on, but what better way to kick off a show than talk about some football? But, fellas, I don't know if you guys know, and ladies, there was a night practice last night at TCO. Fans were there. It was exciting. It was nothing but nonstop excitement. Justin Jefferson was putting on a show. The defense was moving faster than we've ever seen. So we're going to talk about that. But it's time to get locked in on this show. Luke, what you got?
After last night's practice under the lights, people want to know, Ron, is this Brian Flores defense for real? We'll break it all down coming up next.
And tomorrow, Twins legend Joe Mauer, inducted into the Twins Hall of Fame. Is the Baseball Hall of Fame next for Joe?
And with training camp, we go out there, we do the same thing every single day, but there's always some silly storylines. We'll talk about what's going on ridiculous out in Eagan.
I cannot wait to talk about what's going on around the league because there are some dumb storylines out there, and people, you do not want to miss these. But we have to talk about the MVP voting. Everybody knows that the NFL MVP, a lot of people thought Cooper Kupp should have won it. They thought Justin Jefferson should have won it, but it's been a quarterback. But there's a weird stat that I think is going to be in Kirk Cousins' favor this year to win the MVP. But there's somebody else in the division that people are thinking is going to win the actual MVP in the NFL within the NFC North. Who is that? We'll talk about that next on the Roundtable. But people, remember, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Just visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to make every moment more. And like I talked about, that MVP, people, you have to jump on there because there are a ton of NFL. There's one right now you can bet who's going to have 10-plus touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, by the way, is getting some odds, some good odds, actually. I was surprised he was on the plus side of this, not the minus. So I'm going to let you know, I'm betting on Justin Jefferson to have 10-plus touchdowns. I don't see how it cannot happen because Adam Thielen's gone. That means Justin Jefferson, the red zone targets go up. But you might want to get the FanDuel and check those other ones out because there's some MVP voting. You can bet. I've talked about this. They have them out there now. The Super Bowl. You can bet on who's going to make the Super Bowl, what team might beat what team in the Super Bowl. One of them, 850,000 plus. Meaning you bet $1, you can win $850,000. So why not do it? Come on now. Like, there's no chance the Baltimore Ravens beat the Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl, but it's a bet out there. Put $5 on it. Why not? If it happens, you made a lot of money off of $1 or $5. But again, I'm Ron Johnson. That's Luke Inman. We got Sam Ekstrom and Julia Daniels. So now it's time to kick the show off. Luke, what you got for us?
Yeah, Ron, the people are buzzing about this B-flow defense, and I think it's warranted. I mean, they balled out last night and dominated. Flores had the blitz dialed up early and often, and the offense, they really couldn't do anything about it. Now, am I ready to crown them the next purple people eaters? Probably not. I still think there's going to be plenty of growing pains with so many young guys out on the field. And by the way, too, blitzing isn't this new thing either, right? It's been around for 60 plus years. It's a very boomer bust philosophy and kind of a love-hate relationship sometimes. But I think a lot of the buzz and hype revolves around the fact you're seeing such a polar opposite scheme play out from that soft Donatel defense to this aggressive play calling that Flores is deploying. But again, that's his MO. This is what he does. He's got his finger dialed up on the blitz more times than not. And in a lot of ways, the fronts and designs that we've seen, it reminds you of Mike Zimmer, what he used to do, getting everybody up at the line of scrimmage, mugging the A-gap. You don't know who's coming, who's going, and it puts so much stress and pressure on the quarterback and offensive line communication. So just seeing what I've seen now, it wouldn't shock me if this defense lived and died by the blitz this year, and that could mean you have a top 10 defense in sacks and takeaways, but it could also mean a bottom 10 defense in yards and points allowed. That's kind of the give and take. When it works, it's a fun splash play, but when it doesn't, guys are running wide open downfield. Either way, though, guys, I think fans are going to have a lot more fun and entertainment watching this defense fly around this year, even if there is a slight learning curve and some trial and error along the way. Sam, I know you were out there last night. What'd you think?
Yeah, no doubt this is going to be a more aesthetically pleasing product to watch than the Ed Donatel group last year. It kind of reminds me of 2021. Remember when Daniil got hurt and Everson Griffin had to leave the team, and that defensive line was short some serious talent. But Mike Zimmer found a way to dial up creative blitzes, and just through scheme, he was top 5 in sacks that season. Now, also similar to that season, I still worry about the cornerbacks, because while the Vikings got a lot of pressure that year, their cornerbacks still couldn't cover, and they gave up completions when it mattered most. Here's the test for Brian Flores. What is he going to do in a 4-minute drill or a 2-minute drill at the end of a game? Does he still bring the pressure, or is he one of these prevent defense guys? That's going to be the real test, because if you're exposing your cornerbacks one-on-one on an island when the game's on the line, how are they going to hold up? I think this season's the success of this defense this season might come down to how well Byron Murphy Jr., Caleb Evans, and then whoever your slot guy is can perform. That's going to be critical, because when you're blitzing that much, you're going to have guys that are one-on-one matchups, and that's going to be where they might get exposed.
Yeah, Julie, what do you think?
Honestly, just having been out there last night, I couldn't stay to watch scrimmage. I had to get back to the station, but having talked to a lot of the cornerbacks, I talked to Cam Bynum, safety, yesterday, the respect that they have for Flores too is totally different, because this is only my second year covering the Vikings. It's the relationship between Flores and his players. Ed obviously had a specific scheme that he wanted to fit guys into, right? This year, obviously, we've talked a lot about the flexibility that Flores has, and he's learning from his guys, and he's playing to their talents too. And I think we've also seen, just when we're not able to shoot practice and we get to just kind of watch the guys do their thing, they know what's going on. Last year, not the case. We saw Lewis Seen have that interception in practice last week, I think that was. Sam, I don't know if you were out there.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he just broke. He knew exactly where the ball was going. And that was not something that we saw very often last year, and especially from a guy who's so young like that. But every single time I've talked to Caleb, I've talked to Byron, I talked to Cam Bynum yesterday, they love Flores. They respect him, and they feel like he listens to them as well, which is something different than last year. Everyone respected Ed, but it just feels like they feel understood as well, and they feel like their talents are being played to and their strengths.
Yeah, Julie, I think you hit the nail on the head with the defensive backs. And so I was there last night, and I saw two things happen. One, I saw Jordan Addison open up that speed. That guy can run when he opens it up. Kirk Cousins missed him by that much. The very next play, or 2 plays later, I think the Vikings tried the offense tried the same exact route combo with a deep post and like some kind of over route or sit route to try to hold that quarter safety. Well, this time Caleb Evans learned from it the first time. Harrison Smith made Kirk Cousins think like, you don't have this deep post, and he had to throw it underneath. I think that's going to be the difference, is these guys are learning from each other. They're talking. There's no like, if we make a mistake, we're going to get MF'd when we come off on the sideline by Mike Zimmer. What I notice about Brian Flores versus Ed Donatel, when you leave a relationship, and people know this, when you leave a relationship, your next relationship, anything that goes on, you're okay with it. And I think that's what Ed Donatel was. They left Mike Zimmer for the DB group. They got Ed Donatel, who was super laid back, super like, this is my style. This is how we're going to do it. But he didn't force it. He wasn't a hammer, like, I'm going to drop the hammer if you screw up guy. So it was kind of good for the players. Fast forward, you now have Brian Flores. This is what they need. Like, after leaving that relationship with Zimmer, then going to Ed Donatel was kind of like a grace period. Let me just get used to just being able to breathe and being able to play. Now they're getting taught. And what you're seeing is these guys being taught, and they're moving around. Like you said, Lewis Seen. They're understanding the concepts. They're not learning. They're not overthinking. Mike Zimmer, we all heard this. Mike Zimmer's defense was extremely complex. There was a ton of thinking for the DBs. A lot of times with Xavier Rhodes, you lock down the guy. Everybody else, you got to do a whole bunch of stuff. We saw young guys like Dantzler struggle. We saw guys like not be in the right spot when you think about some of the safety play issues they had until Ant Harris. There was a lot going on with Zimmer's defense where he was making it really, really tough. Flores, for instance, is just making it chaotic but simple. And I think when we had Chris Rump on, he said that. He's like, it's like controlled chaos. He was like, it might look chaotic, guys are moving all over the place, but it's simple. And I think that's what we're seeing now is the simplicity, which means when it's simple and I don't have to think, I can move fast. And that's what I think we're seeing from this defense is they're moving fast, and they're gonna make it tough on offenses. But we got to move on to the next topic. Sam, what you got for us?
Yeah, let's talk a little baseball. Joe Mauer gets inducted in the Twins Hall of Fame tomorrow night. He'll give a speech, and then they'll hang the number 7 in the Twins' so-called Ring of Honor, sort of like the Vikings have. This is obviously deserved by Mauer. This was coming all along. There was no doubt whether he was going to get inducted into the Team Hall of Fame. But what about the Baseball Hall of Fame? I think that Joe Mauer's candidacy is very interesting because if you compare him to other catchers, his overall stats don't necessarily hold up. And again, he only played catcher for, about the first half to 2/3 of his career. But 2,000 hits, 3 batting titles, 1 MVP. I think Joe Mauer changed the game for the catching position. I think he deserves to be a Baseball Hall of Famer when he's eligible next year. I don't know if he's a first ballot guy, but before his eligibility is up, Joe Mauer should be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame for his consistency. Played in an era where it was all about contact and getting singles and finding holes in the defense. It'd be interesting to see if he played in this era of baseball, how he would have performed. Would he have hit more home runs? Would he have sacrificed his average? But 300 hitter, 388 on base percentage for his career. Didn't hit as many home runs as people wanted him to. But Joe Mauer, I think, has to be a Baseball Hall of Famer for his sheer consistency as a hitter. Can't wait to hear him tomorrow night at Target Field.
Yeah, what you think, Julia?
I would say yes. Obviously, he should be in the Hall of Fame, MLB Hall of Fame. How soon that happens, I don't know. Obviously, Minnesota, homegrown boy, Cretin-Durham alum. Minnesotans love this guy. They are – I hear it all the time. Why is he not already there? Why, people are asking me this. He's the only American League catcher, I think, with a batting title, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Am I right? Obviously, I didn't grow up here. I didn't grow up with Joe Mauer, but he has a solid candidacy for the MLB Hall of Fame. I think it would be ridiculous if he wasn't in, because I think you're right in saying that he has set the standard for catchers. And before that, they weren't known as big hitters. They weren't known to go out there and get on base. I think one year he had a on-base percentage of like 444, which is ridiculous for a catcher, especially at the time. So yeah, I'd vote for him to go into the Hall of Fame for sure. I mean, obviously, I think the Twins Hall of Fame is so exciting too. This weekend we'll have all that coverage for sure, but everyone's waiting really for the big one, MLB.
Yeah. I don't get what the discussion's all about, really. Where's the debate? How in the world could this guy not get into the Hall of Fame? He did things and put up stats only other Hall of Fame catchers did during their careers. And I personally, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. So I don't know if I'm just being biased because of the local connection. Grew up watching this guy. I remember my dad took me to watch him play at Cretin-Durham High when he was in high school. He said, this guy's going to be the #1 overall pick. I thought it was like the coolest thing in the world that I was watching this guy up close and personal. But not many catchers in the history of baseball ever win an MVP, 3 batting titles, 5 Silver Slugger awards, finished with a career 308 average. Not to mention he's top 10 in hits and runs for all catchers in the history of the game and top 3 in doubles as well. So I think it's a no-brainer, and I think he should be a first ballot Hall of Fame guy by the time this whole thing's said and done.
I'll say this. Joe Mauer's boring. He's very boring. You think about like a lot of these catchers that have names and names, Mike Piazza, the guys that everybody loves. I mean, he did some ridiculous stuff. You look at, I mean, we're not going to go back to Yogi Berra. But when you look at the hits, I mean, honestly, 2,800 hits by Pudge Rodriguez, that's ridiculous. So we're not saying Joe, I mean, he had 1,000 more hits than Joe Mauer. We're not saying Joe Mauer's there. But then you have guys in here, and again, different eras. But you guys have guys in here with 1,600 hits, 1,900 hits. Joe Mauer's at 1,800. So I do agree from that standpoint he should be in. But I think the biggest thing is he was just boring to a lot of people. Like he did not flash. He did not have a lot of stuff that was like, oh, wow, Joe Mauer. But I think overall he was a solid player. He was a guy that wasn't going to – he's like the Kirk Cousins of the MLB, I think. Like he's just a guy that was very trustworthy. Wasn't flashy, probably shopped at Kohl's as well, had some Kohl's cash, just like Kirk Cousins. And I think that's why maybe Minnesotans question that. Just like Eli Manning. I would say maybe Joe Mauer's and Eli Manning. Like he's kind of right there in the like, well, do you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, he does. I think Eli Manning does as well. But yeah, I think it's inevitable. I mean, he was one of, like Julia said, his on-base percentage. I think people forget how important that is. Like a lot of people can hit, but these are great athletes that make plays and get you out and to get on base and not to be like he wasn't super fast. So to be on base that much and have an on-base percentage that high, I think that's the other key. It doesn't matter how pretty it looks, how great it looks, but when you get on base, I think that's the key. Because I saw a stat about like Barry Bonds versus somebody else, and they were saying like, this is how many hits he had, but look at his on-base percentage. You would think like he didn't get on base as much with all these hits, but he did, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think that's definitely one of those where Joe Mauer should be in. I think it's inevitable, but it's going to be some consternation and some questions that come up and just everything for his overall career. But yeah, he should be in there.
388 on base percentage career all time. That's
crazy.
He hit 282 his final season. Remember, people didn't think he was going to retire that year. They thought he would sign an extension or with the Twins or play somewhere else to end his career. Mm-hmm. He was playing well when he hung it up because he decided, hey, I'm going to walk away a Twin. He could have racked up another 500 hits, probably added to his resume if he wanted to. He was still that good.
Yeah, it's crazy because Mike Piazza's on base is 377 for his career. And then Mickey Cochran, of course, 419. But yeah, Mike Piazza. And again, Mike Piazza and Pudge Rodriguez for me were the gold standard of catchers. When I grew up, I played catcher growing up. So I definitely always looked at how those guys did it. And again, I just think Joe Mauer just wasn't flashy. Like he didn't do anything that made people jump out like, man, he just threw somebody out at second and he did a 360 spin around Joe Burrow style with the camera in slow-mo. That wasn't what he's going to be about. And so I think that's good. And he's never going to be that guy. Like I saw him at, you guys might've saw that when he was at Adam Thielen's celebrity softball deal. He like was hitting like for real. Like he was like hitting absolute rockets at people. Like, and people are like, Joe, this is a charity event. Like, calm down. Like
he hit it. Sign him now.
Maybe. I mean, he hit it so hard. I was scared for the Vikings players in the field. And then he just jogged to first. Like it was like, and the crowd didn't cheer. The crowd was kind of like, oh, like somebody get this guy out off the field with these little boys. Like he's going to kill somebody.
But the guy never went to a World Series. What do you want? I mean,
so that was his World Series at the St. Paul.
Never actually won a playoff game in Minnesota in 15 years.
I thought he won one playoff game his rookie year, didn't he? 04.
Well, he wasn't in the game because he was hurt that year. Sure. So he never actually was on the field for a playoff.
Put an asterisk by his one win.
Different era, Sam. Different era.
Yeah, I mean, but again, he's always going to have all those dark clouds over him when that conversation comes up. But in the end, I think he gets in because I was listening to the Hall of Fame football thing last night, and they brought up Eli Manning, they brought up Larry Fitzgerald, and they were talking about like tight ends, Travis Kelce, how people keep calling all these young guys future Hall of Famers, and some of the Hall of Famers, the old get off my lawn guys, were getting pissed off because they're like, Justin Jefferson's not a future Hall of Famer. Stop saying that. It's like, well, it's kind of inevitable if he stays on this path. Mm-hmm. So that's what people are saying, but the old people hate that. But we got to move on. We got to move on to the next topic because I'm excited about Julia's topic because I have a great I'm from Detroit. So I love when I get texts from friends about the Lions because I get all their stuff. I have another one about this in the Lions. We'll talk about this too. But we have to do this. But before we do that, we got to word from our sponsors.
Yeah, let me tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook that brings us today's show. FanDuel is a great place to bet baseball. That includes the Minnesota Twins that we were just talking about. They are hosting the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. They're favored at -134, run line at 8.5. Bet that or a full slate of baseball games at FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. New customers, you can get up to 10 times your initial bet in bonus bets back up to $200. That's right. Bet 20, get 200. That's free money whether you win or lose. You can lay that down on a Vikings future bet that Ron Johnson's going to tell us about later in the show. It's a very easy-to-use FanDuel Sportsbook app. You get paid instantly when you win. No better place to bet baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up today. The website, FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon, up to $200 back in bonus bets. FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball.
So let's talk training camp. Training camp comes with a lot of different storylines. It's our first look at these guys. You get to see some more personality, things like that. Maybe some guys you didn't know before. I would say some things ridiculous-wise that maybe we should move on from. I'm out there. Obviously, I talk to fans. We've got our new sports photog starting. So I've been out with the news photogs. So they're not really totally in the loop on things, but something I wish we would just move on from is the Jordan Addison deal. The speeding ticket, every single time I bring him up at the station in front of a fan, something like that, they're like, oh, Speedy Gonzalez, somebody has some kind of joke to say. Everyone wants it. I mean, we went out there, day one of practice. They brought him out and he didn't say much. He wasn't going to say much. I think that we need to just let it go. Obviously, not condoning the behavior, things like that. But let's stop talking about it. Let's just let the kid go out. He's young. What is he, 21 years old, right? Let him go out there, prove that he's Speedy Gonzalez, get that separation that we've been hoping for in a different way. But also asking Kirk about his contract year, we're not going to get anything out of him about it, You have to ask because it is an important thing, but I think that so many people want to see him squirm when it comes to that topic. And it's just, we're always going to get the same Kirk no matter what. So obviously we'll see how he does this season. I think without them signing an extension for him or anything. Another big audition is this season, but let's stop asking him about it. And one other thing too, you guys have been out there. I don't know why we're having the pressers happen with the Vikings while also the scrums are going on off the field.
Come on now.
What is going on with that? What is happening? It's all the big guys too that they're like, oh yeah, Jordan Hicks is over here to talk to you guys while Wes Phillips is at the podium. Good luck with everything covering all of that.
Can't be in two places at once, guys.
Yeah. So those are my three. I know, Ron, you have something funny that you want to share that's actually silly, but those are my little rants for today.
Well, I will say, I know none of you guys have seen this, I'm pretty sure. I just watched it on Amazon Prime. Speaking of football coming on Amazon Prime, the Vikings will be playing the Eagles on Thursday night. Fox will be simulcasting that game. There will also be other affiliates picking up that game. So this is going to be a fun one for the NFL because they're spreading it out. But I just watched Transformers. There's a robot now called Mirage, and he's able to make himself into 3 to 5 people, and then you got to figure out which one is really him when you're fighting them. So that's how you do it, Julia. You just become Mirage, the Transformer, and then one of you goes over and covers Wes Phillips. The other one goes over and covers Jordan Hicks in the scrum, and then the other one goes over there and listens to Kirk Cousins talk about his Netflix special. But I'm going to save mine because mine is good. I got to save it. Luke, is there anything, Luke, that you've heard this offseason or training camp that you're like, wow, that's a crazy story, or I'm sick of this?
Well, just more of a broad NFL angle. It's not anything specific, but I think just in general, I hear every year the Patriots are going to be terrible and be last place in the AFC East. And I get it, like that division stacked. You got questions about Mac Jones in year 3. But if I've learned one thing by now, you never bet against Bill Belichick. No matter how bad that offense is, the defense is going to be top 2 in the league again, win them at least 8-9 games, if not more, on their own. That's just the way it works. I've seen this movie before. And then I don't know if this is a hot take and I'm in the minority here, but I'm not sold the Jets are a Super Bowl contender just because they got A-Rod. Because to be totally honest, everything I saw from him last year makes me think he might not be the same guy everyone's expecting him to be this year. Not to mention, again, that division is so stacked with the Patriots. Bills are Super Bowl contenders. Dolphins, who if Tua stays healthy, could easily be a Super Bowl team of their own. So don't bet against Bill Belichick. And don't crown the Jets just yet with that insanely brutal schedule week after week.
If you want to crown them, crown them. They were who we thought they were. What you guys say?
Well, Luke, you know how it's going to go down, right? Rodgers struggles. The Jets don't really want him anymore, and then he ends up in Minnesota.
1-3.
That's the pattern of things.
It's already written, Sam.
We're living in a simulation. It's a big loop. No one is guiltier than us here at Locked On Sports Minnesota of indulging in quarterback rankings, wide receiver rankings, team rankings. We've been talking about it for 4 months, but I've got rankings fatigue. I am ready for the rankings to go away until next May when we need them again. We don't need you anymore. We have real football. So all the rankings, the stuff that we debate about, that we argued, oh, Kirk is 12th. He's not 14th. Justin Jefferson 3rd? What? Nah, I'm done with it. Let's get into the real football. Let's talk about real stats, real plays on the field. The rankings can take a nap until next offseason, and then we will need you again when we need to fill content, but not until then. Go to bed.
Well, mine, like, you could just Google it and you could see all the stories. It's absolutely ridiculous. And why not? Like, if you're going to bite people's kneecaps off, you might as well get something that actually will eat a whole person. Like, we've moved on from kneecaps, and now we're just going to eat people. Dan Campbell, this is dead serious. Because people are like, I can't even make this up. Like, I was so on board for the Lions, and then this happens. Dan Campbell went to ownership. So this was a real conversation. You don't go to your owners if it's not for real. And said, can I get a lion? This family, the Fords, are so old, they approved it. Like, they approved a lion in his budget. And it like all the headlines are saying Dan really wants a pet lion. Lions aren't pets. Like, if you wanted to get a cat or a dog and then cut their hair to look like a lion, like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of dogs out, like a chow. Julia, you can take your cat and cut its hair and make it a mane. Like, there's a lot of things Dan Campbell could do, but this guy wants a real lion. And then the NFL, thank goodness, they're smart. They put a stop to that right away. They said, stop looking. And then it says, Dan Campbell is not 2 days ago, Dan Campbell is not giving up on his dream of having a live lion on the sideline. The New York Post wrote this. Why? Like, let it go. Like, why would you want a real lion? And like, like, I'm just looking at all the headlines. Cowboys ex Campbell wants lion. It says my big ass pet on the sideline. Like, what? And so then it says the NFL rejected his idea for a live animal as a mascot in Detroit. CBS wrote that. Dan Campbell still wants a live mascot in his facility, but says the NFL won't let him. Sporting News, NBC Sports said Dan Campbell wanted a live lion, but the league frowns on that. Frowns? Like, could you imagine Jared Goff scrambling for his life with Danielle Hunter chasing him and the lion attacks? What is wrong with this guy? So that to me was just the dumbest thing I've heard in training camp so far. That, like, if I was a Lions player too, I would question his sanity for our safety. Like, I don't care how many trainers, I don't care how many, like, people are holding onto a leash. The lion wins. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen zoo people get killed by lions. It lives. It wins. It wins every time. And so the funniest thing, and before we move on, the funniest thing is, like, I talked about the movie Semi-Pro. You guys have seen it. I don't know if Julie's seen that. You're young, so you might not have seen Semi-Pro Will Ferrell. But there's a halftime show he's trying to sell out for fans, and he said, I want to fight a bear. And his safe word was spumoni, meaning if this is getting too serious, I'm going to say spumoni. And he slapped the bear. The bear riled up. He started yelling spumoni. The girl, like, he's like, how long have you been a bear trainer? She's like, 2 days. He's like, what? And then he, like, runs. Bear gets loose. Lights go out. Bear's loose in the stadium. Like, that's what I could imagine a lion do. A lion's loose. And now we're on ESPN watching a live coverage of a lion loose in the stadium. It then gets loose in the city of Detroit. And then we're in a movie. Like, I feel like this would be a movie with Idris Elba, and he's going to have to chase his lion, him and Jamie Foxx.
Oh my.
And it's just going to go to all hell's going to break loose. But Dan Campbell wanted a lion. I could not imagine Kevin O'Connell saying, I want a real Viking. Like, we have one.
We had one. We had Ragnar.
But he wanted, like, what, $600,000 or something like that?
He wanted a lot of money.
So we went to the mascot. We even got rid of our live thing. Like, the Packers, like, what would their thing be? A live cheese guy? Like a cheese curd? Like, what?
Well, I mean, the lion thing, it's not completely outrageous. LSU has their own tiger, but
yeah, but that thing's in a cage. That thing's in a cage. It's not on the sideline.
Yeah.
Like, I do know Deion Sanders has the bison. He has the buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
But buffaloes don't really attack. The Georgia Bulldogs have a bulldog.
Arkansas has their razorback that they parade around the field, but it's
that's true.
Yeah, but that thing's controllable.
Yeah. Well,
Like, you can't control a lion.
a razorback will kill you. It'll kill you.
A razorback will?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, but see, like, the bear, that's like if Eberflus were to say, I want a live brown bear. Like,
Yes.
no, you don't get a live brown bear. No, friend. No, you can't have a live brown bear.
Harrison Smith is morphing into an actual Viking every time I look at him. He takes that helmet off
Gosh.
with his hair.
He's not far away.
And he has the shaved sides. And
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we got to move on to the last one because this one's good. FanDuel, thank you for all the bets and the props you put out there. People right now just understand what FanDuel is doing. You can jump on the app. I just did it. If you live in Minnesota, you can't bet, but you can at least click Iowa. And then you can look through. It's going to actually say your zip code doesn't match. And so it's not going to let you bet, but you can look and see. And then you can drive to Diamond Joe's, which is an hour away, hour and a half. But right now, there's a lot of parlays. You can make up to 7 selection parlay. You can pick teams to make the playoffs. Here's some teams that have good odds. The Vikings have 106. And then you can go down, like if you want to say the Steelers are going to make it this year, you get plus 128. If you think the Giants are going to make it this year, you get 172. The Bears at 172. And here's where I go with the Bears. And I'm glad you guys haven't seen this. There's an NFL quarterback right now getting votes. He's getting bets at Vegas. And I just looked at this on here to see where Kirk Cousins falls in this. KDC is not getting anything close to what this guy is getting. This guy's votes are more than 3 combined quarterbacks. 3 of the best quarterbacks combined is what his votes are right now. Who do you guys think that is? I'm going to start with you, Julia. Who's getting the most bets in Vegas right now to win MVP for NFL for 2023, 2024?
Did you give us a hint earlier?
Yeah. What was the hint? You said the division, didn't you?
Yeah, it's in our division.
Oh, man. God. Is it Justin Fields?
That's a good guess. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I feel like, okay, you said NFC North. I always immediately think quarterbacks first, probably not Goff. I feel like Justin Fields is the fun, sexy pick right now.
Sam?
So this is the leader of NFC North quarterbacks. This isn't the league.
No, this is the league. He's leading the league in bets.
But he's in the NFC North.
But he's in his NFC North.
Okay. So it's not the leader in odds, but most people are betting.
Most people are betting, correct?
Because they want to get value.
Most bets. Yep.
All right. Well, it does have to be Fields. Goff is no way. Goff is going to move the needle. Jordan Love is not going to move the needle. It's got to be Fields.
So here's how the sports book works. Everybody knows this. Justin Fields' odds. They bet so much on him in Vegas, it got shortened. He was a plus 3,000 to start. And that's why I told people, you guys better go bet some of these. Like Danielle Hunter, 10 plus sacks. You better bet it now because it's going to go up once people start betting it. And then same with Justin Jefferson, 10 plus touchdowns. Bet it because it's going to go up once people start betting it. I'm betting it. I'm driving to Iowa as soon as I get a chance. Justin Fields is now a plus 1,800 as a result of all the bets online. He has more bets combined. These guys combined don't have more bets than him. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert combined. If you add up all the tickets of people in the world that have bet on Mahomes, Allen, and Herbert, they still don't pass the bets right now for Justin Fields. Now, here's a stat. Since 2013, so 10 years of numbers, the NFL MVP has been a quarterback, but it's also been the team that wins their division. The winner has been an MVP. So you have to win your division in what it seems like, and you have to be good in the playoffs to win the MVP. So right now, the way people are betting, they're betting on the Bears to win the NFC North. So not the Lions, not the Vikings, the Bears. And so Justin Fields with 1,100 yards, 2,200 yards passing, is 3,300 overall offensive yards. Is still not better than Kirk Cousins just passing the ball. So my question to that is, that's a crazy stat. Stat of the day, still in it from Dan Patrick. What is it going to take for Kirk Cousins to win NFL MVP? I'm going to start with you, Luke.
Yeah, you just look at the stats of the MVP winners the last few years. Mahomes last year, 45 total TDs, 5,200 yards. Those would both be career highs by a mile for Kirk. Rodgers, 2020, 2021, had to put the team on his back, carry the Packers both seasons into the playoffs. Lamar Jackson in 2019, he ran buck wild, carried the Ravens deep into the playoffs. I think the point is, once you get past all the stats, which is a whole feat of its own, the one common denominator, you kind of touched on it, Ron, all these guys, they carry their team deep into the playoffs. I mean, the top 2 vote getters just last year was Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Both got their teams to the Super Bowl. So Kirk would need not only some insane monster stats, but also have to win multiple playoff games and go deep in the playoffs, if not all the way to the chip, because that's almost a prerequisite, it seems like nowadays, for the MVP.
Sam?
So one amendment on that. I think the MVP voting happens after the regular season before the playoffs.
I think you're right, actually.
I don't think playoff performance matters.
Yeah, it's winning the division is kind of what they've been saying. The winner of the division, that's the last since 2013. Every NFL MVP has won their division.
Totally. Yeah. And that totally makes sense to me. I mean, most of these quarterbacks that win MVP, they're putting up between 35 and 40 touchdowns, interceptions less than 10. Can Kirk Cousins get there? I think it's possible. I think with some improvement in second year of the offense, I think he could conceivably throw 35 touchdowns. Can he reduce the picks? Can he have just like 5 picks? Because generally that's about as many as Aaron Rodgers threw. Lamar Jackson, his MVP year was 36 TDs, 6 interceptions. Matt Ryan, 38 and 7. That's the ballpark you have to be in. That's pretty rarefied air. And you got to throw for probably over 4,000 yards because, again, Kirk's not going to do it with his legs like Lamar Jackson. That's how Justin Fields gets there. He has to have a Lamar Jackson season. Kirk Cousins needs to probably throw for 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and win the division. It's a tall order. And even if he does that, you never know. Is Jalen Hurts going to put up the same stat line? Is Patrick Mahomes going to put up the same stat line? It's so hard to win the MVP in this league. But I think that there are some pretty clear benchmarks that Kirk has to reach, and I'm not sure that we can expect him to reach that.
Julia.
I would say if Kirk wants to win MVP, he's got to fire his defense up. Can't have a defense like that and win MVP. I mean, it's just not. I mean, you don't get the chance at it, right? I'd also say, would love y'all's input on this too. If Kirk's in the running for MVP, why is JJ not in the running for MVP? Because the two go hand in hand, right?
Absolutely.
It's a quarterback's division or award.
Right.
Justin Jefferson was mad about that last year. It's a Cooper Kupp too. Cooper Kupp was pissed off. It's been a quarterback award since.
But JJ's going to be in the mix. If Kirk's in the mix, JJ's going to be
quarterback and running back. Running backs have gotten it too. So kind of quarterback, running back, but not a lot of running backs have gotten it. But JJ would be in the mix, I think. But yeah, that's what everybody's saying. They're saying you might just call it like an NFL quarterback award because that's what it's been.
Right.
Yeah, I think they would end up stealing votes from each other and do kind of a disservice to both of them in the end.
It's like a libertarian running for president.
So here's one more.
FanDuel
has some great odds, and I want you guys to tell me who you think. So Kirk Cousins odds, I'm not gonna make you guess that. It's plus 5,000. And if you guys think I'm joking, I have my bet like highlighted. So I have the plus 5,000 for $10 will win me $500. $100? Come on now. I'm winning $5,000. So I might put $100 on Kirky just for me to watch the entire season and be unbiased. Yeah, right. I'm gonna be totally biased the whole season if I put this $100 on Kirk. But 5,000 is his odds. Can you name, and not the names of names? We know, like I'm not gonna go Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Herbert, Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields. We already know are all ahead of Kirk Cousins odds right now. There's still 8 other quarterbacks who have better odds to win the NFL MVP than Kirk Cousins. Do you guys want to take a stab at who you think some of those might be?
That have worse odds, you're saying?
No, better odds. Like it's
more
like
value.
Like
you're
more
saying.
likely.
Sure.
No, sorry. More, they're more likely. So less odds, more likely to win it.
Oh,
Like I'll give you one.
Jones?
Derek Carr is one. He's in there.
Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones is not in there. Surprisingly, Daniel Jones is plus 7,500. I thought Daniel Jones would be in there. He's not in there.
Russ?
Geno Smith?
Yep. Russell Wilson, Geno Smith. 3,000 for Geno. Russ is 4,000.
Not Jared Goff. No.
Jared Goff is in there. 2,600.
Wow.
That is insane. Garoppolo. I mean, if we're doing Goff, we better do Garoppolo.
Stafford.
Stafford is not. Stafford is below Kirk at 6,000. Garoppolo is not on there either.
Oh, Watson?
Watson's up there, 2,600 as well with Jared Goff. They have Watson and Jared Goff the same odds. Here's some crazy ones that you guys won't guess. Yep, Purdy is right above Kirk.
Oh,
4,000. Here's some other ones. Kenny Pickett from the Steelers.
Stop it.
Plus 4,000. So he has a better chance of winning MVP than Kirk.
This is not a serious list.
Jordan Love is ahead of Kirk Cousins, or has a better chance of winning NFL MVP over Kirk. So those are, and then those are, I named the other ones. But yeah,
That's a little ridiculous.
Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, all right now, FanDuel's giving you better odds on Kirk than those guys. I wish I can bet that Kirk's going to have more votes than Jordan Love. I hope FanDuel, if you're coming up with some props, that would be the one to come out with. But it was a great show today, people. We got a lot of stuff out there. I want to thank Julia Daniels for joining us in place of Reggie Wilson today. You were great. We might have to get you back and kick Reggie out more often. But appreciate you joining us. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Luke Inman. That's Sam Ekstrom. Remember, people, you can get anywhere. You can get the podcast anywhere. But you can make sure to go to YouTube. So for those watching on YouTube, we thank you. We continue to love your support, questions, comments, whatever you have for us, please do it. Instagram, Twitter. We have handles for Locked On Sports Minnesota, as well as myself, Luke, Sam, Julie, as well as on Twitter, people. So you can jump on there and hang out with us. We interact a lot, especially during football season. Amazon Fire and Roku. Please make sure to download as well. The app on there is Locked On Sports Minnesota. You'll get all of our shows right there on your TV devices. And remember, all the press conferences, all the biggest news, when Jordan Addison is running 140 miles an hour on the field, we're going to talk about it. So make sure you tune in for that. But I'm Ron Johnson. Again, that's Luke Inman, Sam Ekstrom, and Julia Daniels. I want to thank you guys and have a great weekend.